Hey everybody, this is Daniel with Bothersome Truth. I am glad to be back. I've been out because I've been sick. I'll talk about it in a second. But today's story that I want to talk about, I think is really important. I've been dying to get back into this. Is to talk about who Trump is choosing for his staff, specifically when it comes to the CIA, Attorney General, and on his as his defense advisor. And I want to talk about this because it really shows the direction that the Trump administration is going and why we should be worried about that and potential war crimes. Now, before I get into that, I want to talk about where I've been because you have not seen me in a while, and I apologize for that. I have been sick. If you listen to my voice, you will hear that I'm like pretty much there, but I don't sound fully like myself. Well, I had acute bronchitis. So the last video I did, I basically told you that I had a family emergency. In addition to that, I also suffered from exhaustion because of everything that was going on with it, and everything is much better, so I'm glad about that. My wife and I went to Florida during the week of the election, which was fantastic, but it was also the week of the election. So when I got back, maybe it was because of the smoke in the air, because there was like forest fires up in North Georgia. It was kind of blowing downstream, but I got really sick, like acute bronchitis sick. And so I was out, like I missed a little bit of work time. Not only that, but I had like an asthma attack last Thursday. So it was crazy. Like I've never had one before. So I've been out. I hate that I haven't been able to do videos, but I'm back and I've been researching a lot what's going on with the Trump administration. I am not encouraged by what I'm seeing at all. I have not seen very many bright spots, and I want to talk about some things that for me are very concerning because they are huge deal breakers in this Trump administration. Specifically, people that he's appointing around him who have very controversial and dangerous viewpoints. So, just so you know I'm not blowing this up, let's start with the first one. His name is Mike Pompeo. He's going to be the pick for Trump for the CIA. Now, he's a representative in the House from Kansas. He's on the House Intelligence Committee. And let's just talk about a few of his viewpoints that I consider to be dangerous. He wants Edward Snowden to be executed. That's the first one. Now, he wants him to come back, go through the judicial process, and get executed. Here's my thing there. We may disagree about what Edward Snowden did. I think what he did was valuable. I think he should go through the process, but I also think he should be pardoned because we need to know just how much our government overreached and was surveilling us. But he wants him dead, and that's not very encouraging when that's the head of the CIA. The next one is he wants to expand Guantanamo Bay. Deal breaker for me because Guantanamo Bay houses a lot of people who never actually did anything wrong. People we bartered with other countries just so we could get some prisoners to fill it. There's been so much torture that went on there, so much rape, so many beatings, so many violations of human rights. And here this man wants to expand and do more of that. Now, so you can say, no, he doesn't want torture. Actually, he does support torture by the CIA. That's number 3. Number 4, he wants unfettered NSA surveillance. So as much as we've talked about the surveillance by the NSA and how much they're spying into our lives, whether we're talking about the project that AT&T had, where they were looking at us, or the PRISM project, no matter what it is, this man wants more. He wants a comprehensive database that the government can search for people so they can look at everything about you and I. And if we don't fight this, we won't have any privacy. And we will live in a full police state. We're already moving that direction, but it's people like him who will make it definite. And black people and minorities have been concerned about this for a long time because of the way the government has infiltrated our groups and destroyed them, like COINTELPRO. But other folks who are not blacks and not minorities, you're about to see just how much the government's going to get into your life. And if you get suspected of anything, it's 1984 and Big Brother all over again. You will not have rights anymore. You will just have to do what the state says. Number 5, he is backed by the Koch brothers. They put like over $300,000 into his campaign. He wrote a kind op-ed about them. Aww. And so the concerning point there is, look at who's funding him. So with them funding him, what is he going to want to do? He's going to want to do things that are in the interest of the Koch brothers. This is not draining the swamp. Okay? In fact, I would argue that Trump is actually filling the swamp with even more alligators. But we'll talk about that in another story because we're seeing huge conflicts of interest from him. But I want to stay on topic here. And this isn't the only appointment pick that we should be concerned about. The next one I want to talk about is Michael Flynn. He's a former general and former director of Obama's Defense Intelligence Agency. Trump named him as a defense advisor. Few things. This man has coordinated dirty wars in the Muslim world. So when people talk about the United States being interventionist, acting like an imperial power, and we say that we want less intervention, well, if you're saying that, you can't be happy about Mike Flynn, because he's been doing dirty wars in Muslim countries. At some point, if we really say that we care about ending these interventions, we have to actually fight when people in power want to do more interventions or name people to their staff who want to do interventions. At some point, our principles have to line up with what we say we believe. And there's a lot of people, I'll be honest, I've been sick, but I've been on Facebook commenting and having conversations. I'm seeing a number of people who I thought had principles, and I'm not quite sure that they do. Because it seems to me like you had these principles for years, you had it during the election, but once Trump named somebody who supports torture, that was a terrible whistle, but I don't hear anything. But if Hillary Clinton had done it, we'd be hearing it from the rooftops, we'd be hearing the trumpets, people be ripping their clothes saying, oh God, what a world we live in. But Trump named somebody to his staff who endorses torture, and it's just crickets. Number 2, advocates torture. Right on topic. Here we have another person who's being added to Trump's campaign, Trump's cabinet, who supports torture. But we think Trump is going to move to the left? We think that Trump is going to take Republicans to the left? Emmanuel did a video about this. I don't agree with that at all. If anything, I think Republicans and ultra-conservatives and extreme far right and alt-right and white nationalists are going to move Trump to the right. They're going to move to the far right. And honestly, I think Democrats are going to cower to power, and they're going to move to the right as well. It's going to be on independents. It's going to be on progressives, people like me, independent media, to fight to uphold the left position, because I'm not convinced at this point that there's going to be a lot of people fighting for the left. And I definitely don't think Trump and his staff are going to. I think that's kind of a joke. Number 3, Michael Flynn wants to continue to use Guantanamo Bay. I've already talked about this just a second ago, but it's concerning that a second person on the campaign in the circle wants to do this. Now, let's get to Jeff Sessions, because this is Trump's pick for the Attorney General. He has a past of racism, of discrimination. This is a man who doesn't like the Voting Rights Act. Now, we saw the role that voter suppression played in this past election, and how Republicans, like in North Carolina and other states, use it against black people to try to reduce the number of people who went out to vote. Because Republicans have admitted that the less people who vote, the better they do in the elections. ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Commission, who writes legislation and backs a lot of Republican legislation, their co-founder has said they prefer if less people vote. So here's a man who's being named to the Attorney General position with a history of racism and discrimination, and he's going to be in one of the top cop positions in the country. And he doesn't like Voting Rights Act and wants to crack down on undocumented immigrants. Let me just take a moment here and say that if we have immigrants that are committing crimes, then yes, we do need to take care of them and they need to leave, because you need to be able to follow the laws to stay in this country. However, if they're not committing crimes, I don't support ICE going in the middle of the night and just rounding people up and putting them in these facilities that forsake their human rights. They may not be Americans, but they're humans. And I don't support President Trump naming people to his staff who don't recognize the inherent value of human beings. And this is with Donald Trump naming Steve Bannon to his staff, who didn't want his kids going to school with Jews, who says that Republicans like him and conservatives embrace the darkness, who like Darth Vader. He said this. This is concerning, folks. And with all this, you may be thinking, well, what are Democrats doing in response to this? Are they standing up and fighting? Are they presenting themselves as a unified front with progressives and recognizing the mistakes they made in the election and fighting it so they do a better job? No. And The Intercept did a great article about this, because basically Democrats are kind of letting all this slide. They know all these things about Flynn and Pompeo and Sessions, and they're not saying a lot about Flynn and Pompeo. They're saying a lot about Sessions because people are talking about Sessions and his racist past. They are not saying a lot about Flynn and Pompeo. And that's concerning because these are the type of figures that once they get their positions of power, they're going to do things in the dark without acknowledgement. And with a President Trump who has a very strong authoritarian streak in him and who is pushing to make sure that the press doesn't have the freedom to really follow him like the press has in the past, there's no telling what kind of crimes and trouble can happen when there's a lack of accountability on the part of the president. A man who's already showing significant conflicts of interest in the way he's merging his business opportunities with his future presidency. Already concerning. Let me read a little bit to you about Flynn. The Intercept did a great piece about this. I'm going to include it in the description. They talked about Flynn being Rumsfeld embodiment that the world is a battlefield. Any person who embodies Donald Rumsfeld's philosophies, we should run from. Because that's how we got the disastrous war in Iraq. That's how we got torture under President Bush. The Intercept said that Flynn is a very sophisticated, accomplished assassin and tremendous authority who has advocated that it may be justified to kill terrorist innocent family members. Is that who you think is okay should be? That didn't even come out right. Let's start over. Are you okay with that person being in power in the White House, in the inner circle? And you may be sitting there wanting to bring up something about President Obama, but I'm not talking about President Obama right now. If you want to criticize him, we can do that in another video. I'm talking about the president-elect. And I'm talking about the fact that there are men on his staff who are white nationalists, who have a past of racism, who endorse torture, who want to expand surveillance, and people who think it's okay to kill the families of terrorists. As I finish up, I want to break this down because I want you to think about just how damning and dangerous that last part is. Imagine if we sent our troops, special forces, into another country, let's just say Syria with everything that's going on there, and Aleppo. Can you imagine if Muslim terrorists said that any soldier that they kill, it's just hurts to even think about. But imagine them saying, any soldier that we kill, we're going to find their families and kill them too. It would blow your mind. We'd be angry and furious that somebody would dare cross that line and attack innocent people for the actions of someone else. Imagine if a police cop was out doing his job and somebody killed that police officer and said, I don't want to just get the officer. I want to get their families. I want to get their kids, their wife. Can you imagine just how grotesque that would be? And yet Donald Trump is saying, and another person on his staff are saying, that they're okay killing the families of terrorists depending on the circumstances. That is terrorism, folks. That is terrorism. That's why I'm talking about this. That's why you need to know about these people. We're not just talking about people that we may have some policy disagreements with. We're talking about people who would take away the human rights of others and torture them and kill them. And if you want a definition of torture, because some of you want to be overly technical, you go look what the UN says about torture. I'm going to go with that. There has to be a line that we draw when it comes to our principles. We may disagree with people who are conservative or liberal or libertarian or whatever, Green Party or minarchist or libertarian socialist. It's fine. We can have our disagreements about policies and have civil discussions about them. But there are some things that are deal breakers, and one of them is torture. Okay? Killing terrorist families, that's a deal breaker. And at some point, rather than pretend that Donald Trump is going to do what we want him to do, when he's a con artist and has a history of it, at some point we have to stop and say, no, I'm going to speak and stand on my principles. And my principles tell me this is not acceptable no matter who does it. I don't care if it's Donald Trump. I don't care if it's Hillary Clinton. I don't care what their name is. I don't care what their background is. If they're okay with torture, we have a problem. If they want to kill terrorist families, we have a problem. If they want to expand NSA surveillance, we have a problem. If they want to do things that are unconscionable, then we have to say it's not okay, regardless of the political expediency to do so. I'm excited to be back in front of the camera with you. I've got more videos coming. I'm going to be talking about Trump's significant conflicts of interest. My goal is to be like a watchdog and really bring to light everything that he's doing. I will give him props when he does something that I agree with, like TPP. If he actually does abolish it and doesn't replace it with a worse plan and does actually renegotiate trade deals so that it brings jobs back here and makes it fair for working class people, then I will give him props for it. But I already see a dangerous pattern when I look at who he's naming to his staff, and I will call him out on it, period, because it's the right thing to do. This has been Daniel with the Bothersome Truth, and I will see you next time.